Get ready to have your minds expanded, people, because we're back with another Shacknews Game of the Year 2022 deliberation. This time, we're talking best expansion. This is downloadable content that's more than just a fancy new outfit for your character or a color palette swap. No, this is a thing that has taken the story and moved it forward in some sort of way, provides a number of new challenges, perhaps. It goes beyond just a simple new cosmetic thing or one little new thing. This is a massive new undertaking and a bunch of new content for you to explore. So without further ado, I think we should get into it. I think we should talk best expansion. Who would like to start?
I'll kick
All
it
right.
off.
Go right ahead, Bill.
So my nominee for best expansion is Tales from the Far Territory, which is the expansion that just released on December 5th for the Long Dark. Everyone around here knows that I love the Long Dark, and I play it frequently. The game came into early access on Steam in 2014, where it spent a couple of years and released a 1.0 in 2017. And Tales from the Far Territory marks the first time in history that they have charged for anything besides the base game. So I bought the base game back in 2000, I think in 15 or something like that. Might have been 16, I can't recall exactly. And have enjoyed somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 updates to the game without spending a dime. And the expansion pass for Tales from the Far Territory is I think it's $20 or something to that effect. I don't remember exactly because Canada, and they like to change prices in Canada, so I'm not sure what the US folks would pay. But it is exactly what it sounds like, which is I can say that it is the most epic journey I've ever taken in a video game. And what I mean by that is that in the Long Dark, people call it a walking simulator, but this was designed to be a location that is connected to the game world. So you would go there from somewhere that already exists in the game. They call them transition zones, but essentially at the very outskirts of a region called Broken Railroad, they repaired a bridge, and now you can walk across that bridge and go through some tunnels. It took me more than an hour to walk to the Broken Airfield territory, which is part of the Tales from the Far Territory. I was going through caves, I was going up mountains, I was going behind, sorry, I don't think I went behind a waterfall, but across the ice. I had to deal with wolves, I had to sleep in caves, I had to sleep in abandoned train car, not train car, but abandoned, I guess, like where passengers would go to sit when they were catching their train. I can't think of the word right now. This added an entire loot refresh to the Long Dark. So everything that players had gotten used to over the last 8 years, you knew where to go to look for a rifle. You knew where to go to look for matches. You knew where to go to look for anything that you needed. They changed the loot tables entirely. So when you log in, they changed the spawn points entirely. When you log in, you don't just get new content, but it's like playing the game that you've been playing for 8 years for the first time again. Very few games have ever given me the feeling of having gone somewhere and feeling like if something goes wrong, I'm dead. I can't fast travel out of here. I can't, like, you're literally against the elements, and there's no civilization around anywhere. There is hostile wildlife, but the weather's worse. And if you overextend, if you walk a little further in one particular day because you think, oh, I've got some daylight and I'm gonna go another mile or whatever it might be, whatever measurement you want to use, and a blizzard rolls in, that's it. Like, there is nowhere to go. There is, like, you can't duck inside of well, you might if you're lucky, but you can't duck inside of something. You don't have any backup. It's just you against the elements, and it gave me the feeling of being lost in the Canadian wilderness and being truly vulnerable in a game that I've mastered. And that's the basic stuff. They added new weapon variants, they added new tool variants, they added new affliction called insomnia. So if There are terrifying things in this game, one of them being cabin fever. And if you stay inside too long, you will lose the ability to fall asleep indoors, and the game will push you outside so that you must survive outside for a certain period of time until you no longer have cabin fever. But then they went and introduced insomnia. So if you, without spoiling anything, if you go through certain conditions, you could become afflicted with insomnia and you can't sleep. And if you get too tired, you lose condition. And if you lose too much condition, you die. It's an entirely new game, and it blows my mind that a game that's been in early access since 2014, but released 1.0 in 2017, has been around and playable for 8 years, could feel brand new again. Um, Absolutely incredible expansion for the Long Dark, and easily one of the most memorable things that I've done in a game. And if you know the Long Dark, it's not objective based. It's you. The only goal is to survive, and the only certainty is that you eventually will die. And it's just really, really cool to be tossed into that scenario at any point. But the additions that they've made with this expansion pass are phenomenal. Just took it to an entirely new level. It's the best survival game on the market. If you're into that.
All right, Bill. While we got you talking, man, you know, there's been some nominations for a game that we're quite familiar with here at Shacknews as well. And since Sam isn't here right now, I think you might be one of the more qualified folks on staff to speak to this. Destiny 2, the Witch Queen.
Sure.
Which queen
So,
is it?
Savathun. Um, Yeah, Destiny 2 is always a hot topic with people because some people love it, some people hate it, some people love to hate it. And some people just look at it and get tired immediately. The Witch Queen did a lot of things. You kind of had your opinions about Destiny before the Witch Queen came out. And I think the Witch Queen was an expansion that allowed people to change their mind about Destiny. It changed the way the game approached new players. And Morgan, I know you played the Witch Queen campaign. Um, so the campaign, and this may sound weird, but the Destiny campaigns have never been based on difficulty. They've always just been the campaign. You just played it. That it is what it is. And this one allowed you to play it in two different modes. They had a legendary mode, which was extremely difficult and actually pushed Sam Chandler to the point where he was like, I need to like actually take this seriously. I can't just hop in there and play around. And it was extremely rewarding. So if you have been a Destiny player that had played for years and years and years, campaigns were just kind of like afterthoughts to you. You could blast through them in about 2 to 3 hours and be done with them. The legendary campaign was rewarding for highly skilled veteran players, and then the regular campaign. And I don't know which version you played, Morgan, but the regular version was something that you could play by yourself if you wanted to. So if you didn't have someone to play Destiny with and you didn't really know what was going on, you could hop in. And it made sure to give you tons of materials that you could use to upgrade your weapons. It gave you new weapons, it gave you new armor. It just made the game, the entry point to the game, really great, which was something that Destiny was missing up to that point. And that's not even getting into the content of the Witch Queen. That also launched the Vow of the Disciple raid, and I know we all saw Sam and Sam's mates um, streaming for. I don't know how long they streamed for. I don't know if they beat it in 24 hours. I can't remember, but streaming for basically a day, trying to beat this raid. And it also brought weapon crafting to Destiny. The Witch Queen allowed you, instead of having to go through the RNG of getting 100 versions of a gun to drop so that you could get the one that you really wanted, or the one that was going to be absolutely smoking in PvP, whatever you wanted to do, you could actually craft it yourself, the role that you wanted. And if you wanted to craft two of them, you could craft two of them yourself, and you could have one role for Crucible and PvP, and you can have one role for PvE. Um, which is to say nothing of the fact that I think the narrative was in The Witch Queen, and I don't know if Morgan has an opinion they want to share, but I thought it was fantastic, and I thought it was extremely well done.
I was really impressed by the Witch Queen campaign. I think that like it just took one really good villain to really get me like hooked in there. But I think in terms of character design, character creation, the story of Witch Queen, like Savathun is a very cool, interesting character, and yeah, I really got deeply embedded through that story.
Savathun's also taller than the Resident Evil lady.
Tall
That's
vampire lady.
that's much taller.
Uh,
I don't know. Did you actually finish the campaign, Morgan? I don't know if you did or not.
I got stuck, but
Oh, okay.
I got a little over halfway, I believe. But like I got to the point where like Savathun can make like copies of herself. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So you can have multiple,
You can
technically.
have multiple Savathuns. That's actually and that Savathun character. I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, I probably could because I don't think anyone here is going to jump in and play the Witch Queen campaign. But um, the that character is actually quite complex, and they did a really good job of taking someone who you start out, and I mean, this isn't unique to Destiny, but someone who you're like, that's the villain, and then at some point you're like, wow, I feel really bad for Savathun, and now I must kill you. You know, kind of is. It was a roller coaster for me.
all right. Well, no shock. And then I want to Sam had just a couple notes here that I want to make sure that we get in for him.
I thought
Really,
I did.
really quickly.
Did I not?
Maybe you did, and I'm checking.
Weapon
Weapon
crafting.
crafting, legend campaign difficulty, and the vow of the disciple. You definitely.
Yeah, I hit all those.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good then. All right. Sweet. All right. Who would like to go next? We have a couple more nominations. TJ, do you wanna talk a little bit about Monster Hunter Sunbreak for us?
Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise on its own is a really great Monster Hunter game, in my opinion. It works well on the Switch, makes use of that RE engine, and really gets the most out of it. And they streamlined a lot of stuff, added some mechanics like the Silk Bug and switch skills that made the game just fun to begin with. Sunbreak is almost like an unofficial sequel on top of that, like in terms of how much content it brings to the game. Uh, Monster Hunter Rise had about 37 unique monsters to hunt, like the large monsters, not talking about the little guys. Um, Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak brought 17 new unique monsters to the game. That's like that's a lot. That's a lot of new hunts to take on and new strategies to formulate, new parts to armor sets to, and weapons to craft.
Oh man, these are like seriously pain in the ass, tough as nails monsters too. Like they brought, like there was what, one new one.
There's
And
actually of the 17 new ones that came, 4 of them have never been seen before in a Monster Hunter game.
and that was one for each of the, like there's a new like area for each one, right? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the flagship monster Malzeno, he's a beast. He's just like everything you would expect out of a king of dragons is that's what Malzeno is.
Man, is that the one that does the flying jump kick that just like fucks you up like to no end?
Oh yeah. He's got a lot that will F you up to no end. But like not even just like the monsters, right? That would be enough to make this expansion worth it. But then they added a new capital, a new hub world to visit. And one of the best things about the Elgato outpost in comparison to like Kimura Village is kind of spread out and it's a little bit time consuming to do everything you need to do there between moving between weapon crafting, going over to the Bunny Dongo shop, heading over to, and like let's not even get into like multiplayer and how complicated it is to get started with that. But like Elgato does a good job of giving you all those things, everything you need to get to your next hunt, but putting it in a smaller but more organized space that feels easier to navigate. They brought follower quests where like NPCs from the game will actually join you on hunts now as like NPC AI controlled hunters, which is cool for those who like if you don't have a group to run with, you can bring NPCs along for certain expeditions and quests now. And then finally, last but not least, they gave new skills to every single weapon. So like you can actually switch up your skill set based on what weapon you're using and access new attacks and new abilities. Which that is a big deal for folks that like want to change up their style and have more options. You still have all your options that you had before, but now you have a couple more things to add to the mix. And just like some are better than others, of course, in my opinion. But even just being able to access new combat options on all of these new hunts is kind of a big deal in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, the switch skill stuff is cool because it like doubles up like basically your special ability moves
Mhm.
for you. Like that you can kind of it also like you if you really don't know what you're going up against yet, having a couple different loadouts for those skills means you can switch up your style of play like in the middle of combat instead of like having to go through the long process of trial and error, like losing and then having to go back, respec yourself and come back into the game.
Yeah. So like when you look at everything that they put in this, Sunbreak is almost like it's half of a whole new game. It's amazing how much they shoved into just one expansion for this. Like if this was going to be
Yeah.
the one expansion that Monster Hunter Rise got, they really just swung for the fences on this in every way.
I agree with you, TJ. I absolutely agree with you. All right. Well, let's see. I think we have one more nomination in this category. Who and Greg, I believe this is your nomination.
Yeah, I need to know if the judge is allows it, because it's like it's not just one of the DLCs, it's like all of them. Like I don't know if that can count though.
I mean, what did it really bring to the table? Did it further the stories? Was there really new tales? Or was it just kind of a monster flavor of the week sort of thing?
I kind of liked the new bright color class was a lot of fun to play. Not knowing what weapons they added and finding them naturally, organically in each DLC was really fun to experiment with. I thought all the boss designs were really fun. The Hydra in particular is a really just beautiful animated boss
Yeah.
battles. And I just overall like it expanded that game. Like I've said before in this debate, like Borderlands 3 was a slog. Like they were having trouble with that formula, and Tiny Tina's like brought it back on the verge of like being like, well, maybe this time has come and gone, but no, it brought it back in spades, and I really liked all the DLC that they did that. That's Molten Mirrors, Glutton's Gamble, Shattering Spectre Glass, and Coiled Captors, I think, is the 4 ones that they released, and they were all fun to play with, and the bosses were all interesting, and the aesthetic and the environments are always fun to play in a D&D world, and I enjoyed all of them.
Didn't really push the story forward or the narrative forward, though. Really, they're just kind of all like go on a hunt sort of thing, right? Like a side quest.
Yeah, the story
Almost.
was not. It was just yeah, side questing. So I don't know. I should have asked before I went on.
I'm
I guess
gonna
I didn't.
No, you know what, Greg? It's Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Of course, I'm gonna allow it. You could have just said Borderlands 3, and I would have been like, that game is like a few years old, and you would be like, yeah, I know, but you know, it's Borderlands, and I probably would have let it fly. But because it's actually from this year, I'm gonna allow it. But that is our last nomination, so I think it's time we got down to the voting. What do you say? Who wants to start off? Donovan, who are you voting for?
Destiny 2, The Witch Queen.
Destiny 2, The Witch Queen. Greg, you sticking with Tiny Tina?
No, you know, like Bill's so passionate about the Long Dark, and the fact that he nominated that over the Witch Queen tells me that it's a really good expansion. And like the team's smaller, it's a more intimate game. I'm gonna go with the Long Dark expansion that he mentioned. He really likes that game.
That's very true. He really does. You should read his feature that he just did about his saying goodbye to his save file.
Yeah, the creator
For
retweeted
the
it,
thing.
right, Bill?
Yep. All right, TJ.
Stay with Sunbreak. Like I said, if that's the only expansion we ever get for Rise, it's the definitive one.
Morgan.
I'm going to stick with Destiny 2, the Witch Queen.
Bill Lavoie.
My background is of a region in the Long Dark. Looks like a watercolor painting, which is the art style they're going for. And the way they expanded a game that has been out for 8 years and built upon it and refreshed it, I have to go with Tales from the Far Territory for the Long Dark.
All right. I'm going to pass for now. Steve.
I'm going with Monster Hunter. Break.
Sunbreak. David.
I'll go with Tales from the Far Territory.
Denny.
I remember when The Long Dark was in early access, and to see that game still both thriving and having new content. I'm gonna go with The Long Dark.
Donovan.
I voted already for Witch Queen.
That's right. You did. All right. We've come back around. Let's see who else voted here. Sam, of course, voted Destiny 2, the Witch Queen. Ozzy voted for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. And then Asif voted for Destiny 2, the Witch Queen. Whew, man, this is tough. If I vote for Monster Hunter Sunbreak, we've got a 4-way tie or a 3-way tie, which I don't think has ever happened in the history of Shacknews voting. Man, this is tough. I gotta say, I really like Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Destiny 2 has hurt me before, though. I'm a little scorned by Destiny 2, if I'm being honest here. But Bill, you basically said goodbye to your save file for this expansion, right?
Yes, a save file that I created at some point before October 7th, 2020. I don't know
Yeah.
how much before that, though.
I think the fact that you're willing to do that for this content is why I'm going to give my vote to the Long Dark Tales from the Far Territory, making it our best expansion of 2022.